What's up everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for a review of album number 4 by the post-hardcore soul punkers out of LA, Let Live. The new album is called If I'm the Devil. They announced the album in April after originally revealing the title last fall in an interview with, I believe it was Revolver magazine. I know I was excited. I really enjoyed The Black is Beautiful that came out in the summer of 2013. I filmed a review for that, but I hated it. Scrapped it. No, I do not have the footage, and no, I'm not going to upload it. But long story short, I really enjoyed that album. It was chaotic, it was political, but it was a good chaos, and it really had a strong message to get across. I enjoyed Jason Butler ever since I heard him off of Collide with the Sky. Pierce the Veil, he had a feature there, and on a Ghost Inside track that I really thought he was phenomenal on, and he is just unlike anyone else. My friend over at Rocked Reviews was telling me about Jason Butler's stage presence, just saying he's all over the place on stage, just how passionate he is. And I looked up some performances. He's not kidding. This dude is all over the place, and he is the real deal. Talk about practicing what you preach. This guy, down to a T, does that. He is very passionate and emotive with what he wants to get across. And on this new record, If I'm the Devil, it's not so much about screaming and really getting it across that way. It was effective before, but they wanted to mix things up. In fact, Jason Butler said he wanted something like Kanye West meets Royal Blood. Is that what they did on this record? No, not necessarily. I'm not really hearing that in terms of like the sonic direction, but overall, they did nail a different vibe. They have screaming still. There's some intense songs here that are just totally going to make you throw your hands up and go, whoa, or else get you really fired up. But there's a lot of moments that take influences from electronic music, hip-hop, and incorporate that into their already established sound, and they pull it off in such good fashion. In fact, I'm loving the majority of this record. Let Live did not disappoint at all. Good Morning America was the first taste of If I'm the Devil. It was released as the lead single, and I'm really enjoying just how kind of eerie the women's choir is that kicks this thing off. It sounds innocent enough, and you think of like a choir, and obviously that's an effect used by a lot of bands, a lot of artists to get a point across, but here it's just kind of weird hearing them talk about racial sensitivity and cops, police brutality, and then of course Butler coming in over like a bass line as soon as the choir kind of fades out, and then he's singing the lines that they just repeated, and it's just a really powerful track. I'm loving the lyrical content here, and he kind of plays off of these phrases that he builds up. Says the cop to the killer in me, says the mother to the fucker in me, and he builds off of that and just runs with it and takes it in a really, really strong direction. That song is a perfect example of what this album does differently. It builds off of more of a light foundation and works its way up. It's just the choir, some claps, and then a bass line running in, and then the guitars and percussion are added on top of that. And it's not that they're super forceful, especially on this track. Not saying that there aren't points in this album that are very much punk influenced, hard rock influenced, because there are, and we're going to get to those moments very soon. But there's a lot that utilize new instruments, new electronic styles, mixing them with their already established sound, and I think that that works well because you don't want to see a band get stale, and I'm so glad that Let Live did not let that happen to themselves. Despite disagreements, the band did a great job of making a cohesive album that does have themes, really strong lyrical points, and a lot of potency in the instrumental department. I'm loving just some of the sounds that are used here, and like on the title track, just how toned down and refreshing that song is, but hitting so hard whenever it shines the spotlight on Butler's singing, what he can do there. I'm glad that he's singing and not just screaming, because he has such a unique presence and voice in this community, in this music scene, and whenever he's really heard and recognized, especially when the cleans are coming across, I feel like it's super effective. Not that his screams aren't. In fact, I love him as a vocalist in that aspect, in that regard, but he kills it on both levels, and that's not something you can say about every vocalist out there. Authority, respect, command is definitely a recurring theme in Let Live's discography, but here it pops up again in a more understanding way, it seems like. It plays out on tracks Who You Are Not. I don't really care for that one as much. The chorus on it just seems like it can't quite snap out of this rut. It seems like the vocals are fluctuating a little bit too much up and down. It starts off as a kind of snappy track. It's got a weird intro on it before the guitar kicks in, but I don't really care for it as a whole. Where I like this theme that we see popping up here is a track, especially Reluctantly Dead. I believe that was released as the second single off of this thing, and it's these things from a more understanding eye. It's Jason Butler putting himself in that position. What would he do? It warms up, but it starts off with just a very broken man kind of singing, you know, with the blood on my hands, the drugs up my nose. I've been confused with someone who's in control, and he doesn't know what he's doing. He's thinking like, if I was this politician and all of this stuff is running rampant in my country, my city, etc., how am I going to piece all of this back together and still be able to look at the public and speak like I'm confident? And I think that that shows a lot of maturity on Butler's point. I'm really enjoying that this album just isn't entirely political. I mean, we see that right off the bat with the opening track, I've Learned to Love Myself. And that's one that I feel like is much more down the line with family and dealing with issues and upbringing and showing that how he got through all of that and still managed to be a productive member of society. It's a very ominous track. It's brooding, it builds, and it reminds me of Muse in a way, in a sense, like building up to something massive, something that's due or die. And I love getting that sense of urgency from music. Not only that track, but A Week Ago as well. One of the more aggressive and rocking tunes here. I didn't want you guys to think that I'm saying that this is a slow album, because that's not the case. Even some of the slower moments do build into something a lot more massive, like If I'm the Devil. The guitars there kind of soar, even though it's more of like a Western leaning feel, like you're watching a shootout, you're about to watch something go down. They still hit, even though they might not be quite as heavy. But there are aggressive moments like A Week Ago as well, where Butler decides to discuss basically his fame and his popularity and about how people tend to abuse that. People are on your side if you're doing well, or else cutting you down if, you know, you're not doing anything for them. And he tackles that again on the album's closer, Copper Colored Quiet. Say that 3 times fast. If I might interject, I just wanted to add a little side note. I really do enjoy the symphonic elements on Copper Colored Quiet, the outro, the closer to this record. It just really adds a new feel. Something that I really wasn't expecting for this album to go out on. I'm not exactly sure what I wanted, expected, etc., but I think that somehow this sums it all up in a really down-to-earth way, and I love that about this record. There's a few tracks that I find myself skipping over a little bit more than others. New Romantics isn't quite gripping me as much in terms of its entire presence as a song, and I already mentioned Who You Are Not. The chorus just feels a little bit off on that one for me, but I am enjoying the majority of the tracks here. 2 that I haven't really discussed so far, but are among my top favorites, starting with Another Offensive Song. I probably won't be the first to raise my hand and pledge allegiance to this track, because it is oh so important, especially in light of recent tragedies that we've experienced with shootings. This track is so potent, and it talks about Butler really putting himself out there, not knowing if anyone's really going to hear his message, because a lot of people just hear the song, just think it's an angry guy shouting behind a mic. He's just looking for words to say and throw together to sound good or sound like he's really trying. No, Butler's actually saying that I mean these things, and I'm going to continue to shout my lungs out until I die, because I believe in what I'm saying. And on this track in particular, the outro is out of this world good. I'm telling you, it sends a shiver down my spine whenever I listen to it, especially just thinking about the tragedies that go on in this world. Who you love, who you fuck might get you shot, etc. My big mouth might get me shot. What I say, put down on paper. He's basically saying, do things that scare yourself, scare others, speak the truth, put yourself out there, and you cannot go wrong. We have to do that, or else we will lose our humanity. The screaming is intense, the guitars are roaring, and Butler is killing it all over this track. The drums tracking the song are just an enveloping, sweeping feel. This song is fantastic. If you are a Let Live fan, if you're a post-hardcore fan, you cannot skip this song. One that might go under some people's radars is Foreign Cab Rides. I think it's a brooding track. Once again, it kind of builds up, but then has a fantastic guitar to bridge the 2 parts of this track. It's like it's soft and then a storm, and something in between is that guitar transition, and it's phenomenal. I think they knock it out of the park on not only that track, but another one I wanted to highlight that might be reminiscent of some of their earlier material, for some fans at least, Elephant, a more punk-leaning jam, and basically discussing this big elephant that's taking up the entire room. A lot of songs that I like here, a few that I absolutely love, and then there's a couple that I don't care for quite as much, but I do think that this album deserves the praise that it's been getting from fans that I see around online. You guys have been begging for me to review this one. I understand why. I was definitely planning on covering it. I think that there's a moderately high replay factor here, and there's some important lyrical message that you guys really need to take to heart, myself included in that. I'm talking to you, John. Listen to what's going on here. Don't be afraid to practice what you preach. Say something and then mean it. Your words have a lot of power, and don't ever forget that. Let Live, their new album, If I'm the Devil, I'm going with a strong 4. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of the new Let Live album. If you've heard it, let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. Don't forget to hit that like button while you're here. Subscribe to the channel because friends don't let friends go unsubscribed. And of course, check out my second channel where I have awesome series like 7 on Sunday, track reviews, music news, all that sort of stuff. It's the top link in the description down below, I believe, along with my social media. Everything is down there in the description along with more information about this album. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you very soon right here on ARTV.